deflated Santa is gonna roll into your room like a piece of paper on the side of the street, and he's gonna go up, and he's gonna land softly on top of you, and you're gonna wake up to his eyes peering down into your eyes, and then he'll inflate and crush you.
Merry, Merry Christmas.
Welcome to Horror Melee. On this episode, we have Holly.
Bonjour.
And Patrick.
Oh.
And on this holiday episode, we are going to discuss 3615 Code Pere Noel, also known as Deadly Games, also known as Dial Code Santa Claus, also known as Game Over, and Hide and Freak.
I really couldn't find where Hide and Freak was released for this movie. It's the only title I could not find, but it's somehow part of the movie.
Yeah.
It sounds like it should be a softcore porn.
Santa's here to give you some presents.
Oh, no.
For this episode, we are going to refer to this movie as Deadly Games. Deadly Games is a 1989 French horror thriller film. Is about a young boy, Thomas, a very intelligent and resourceful 10-year-old child, is left alone with his beloved and fragile granddad, Poppy, on Christmas Eve, when an unstable man dressed as Santa Claus breaks into their mansion and starts chasing them.
I wish that sentence could be said about me, about breaking into my mansion, but it does not.
That castle of terror.
Also a better name for a house I wish I lived in.
The film was written and directed by Renee Manzor, and I'm going to destroy everyone's name in this because I don't speak French. This game stars Brigitte Fossey, Louis Decroux, Patrick Florsheim, and Alain Lalanne, who plays Tommy, and Tommy is actually the director's son. So this movie was released March 18th, 1989.
Whoa. A Christmas movie was released in the opening of spring. Okay, just...
I'm
Just
sorry.
wondering.
I'm sorry. So...
That was the festival. That was when it was showed in the festival of that year.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
At the
Okay.
Le Laune Film Festival of Youth and Children's Films. Yep.
So, yeah.
I feel like that should be like a children's movie festival, not maybe he didn't understand the criteria.
Pixar's there. Disney's there. Also, a Grindhouse Santa movie's there.
Yes. It looks like it was actually released January 17th, 1990 in France. So just a little after Christmas.
Yeah, about a month.
They didn't want to bring the spirit down too much.
I mean, it really is a story about childhood and your transition from your childhood dying and becoming a man.
Mm-hmm.
The film didn't get a U.S. release at the time, but it put the director, Renee Manzor, on the international radar, and it got the attention of super producer Kathleen Kennedy, who introduced him to Steven Spielberg, who apparently told Manzor that he watched this movie, Deadly Games, 3 times with his son, Max.
I just imagine Spielberg sitting there and his son's like, Dad, I don't want to watch this again. He's going, you are going to sit here. You're going to watch this one more time.
I mean, I know, right? Like 3 times. Like, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Dad, I don't even like dinosaurs either.
And also, he got the attention of George Lucas, and Renee Manzor directed a few episodes of Young Indiana Jones.
Nice.
Yeah, with River Phoenix.
Yeah. I had never heard of this movie until I saw it playing at the Alamo Drafthouse this season. Last year in 2018, the film had its North American premiere at Fantastic Fest in Austin, and then has been restored by the awesome-based company American Genre Film Archive. And it's officially streaming on Shudder.
Thank you, Shudder.
That's where I
Yeah.
watched it. I couldn't make it to the Alamo. I really wanted to, but
Yeah.
didn't have time.
I don't have one.
They're actually planning to build one in Chicago.
Really?
Their next few locations that they're looking at is Las Vegas, Chicago, and Grand Rapids.
Huh. Okay. I'll keep my eye out.
You can always drive to Grand Rapids.
Exactly. I was going to say, I'm going to keep my eye out for the Grand Rapids one.
It sounds like we all watched the version on Shudder, correct?
Correct.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it was a really good version. A lot of people of reviews that I've read commented that they could only find a blurry VHS copy. So I'm glad to have seen a nice clear copy of it.
Yeah, it looked really good.
I don't think there's any other cuts, though. This is the one and final cut that they have. So at least they restored it a little bit, which is nice for the Blu-ray. I'm glad they didn't edit anything from the original, because then we would have had to find the original and watch that, and then watch the edited version. So thank you, Renee.
So this was my first time seeing it. I take it was y'all's first time seeing it too.
Yeah, I've never even heard of this until 17 days ago.
Yeah, same. I have never heard of this.
Yeah, I'm just surprised that this is now just getting noticed and getting attention.
There was in the 60s and 70s, there was more of a movement for international film, and then 80s was kind of really dominated by the States, and the 90s, and then the early 2000s with blockbusters and stuff. So the idea of international films didn't really appeal to the American audience. I think now, though, that film is just, there's so many people that are film buffs and love film so much that international film is becoming a big part of the American film industry, which is great. I'm so excited for. So I think that's one of the reasons why it's finally been brought over. And cult classics are.
Yes.
They're just trying to add more and more. This is a cult classic.
Yeah,
this is a cult classic.
Everything gets called a cult classic.
Yeah.
I know. We had our long conversation about what is a cult classic.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And why can't we all just be in a cult?
All right. Let's jump into the movie.
Let's do this. Let's head down this chimney.
So the movie starts out with the following text. And this is translated from French. All children believe in magic and cease to do so only when they grow up, except those who have been too disappointed by reality to expect any reward from it. Then we see how the holiday spirit in the form of a snow globe is shattered by a garbage truck, and we meet our psycho Santa Claus, who just wants to play with some kids. But he's a creep, so the kids run away.
I love in that whole scene, in the background, there's an old woman just looking out the window at him as he plays with the kids. And that's all I could stare out for this entire scene.
I was super ready to just feel bad for him and be he just, just some guy who just wants to keep the spirit of Christmas or the spirit of Santa. And I was oh, they all ran away. He looks so sad. I was so ready to feel bad for him.
Yeah, I was too. Because if I was an adult and some kids were playing snowballs, of course I'm going to pick up a snowball and throw it at a kid.
Right?
It's just, it's the only time I can and not be yelled at by anyone or anything like that. But he walked in the middle of their snowball fight and was just staring at all of them, and then picked up a snowball and threw it. So, yeah, he did a little creepier.
Yeah, the guy who played him did such a good job having this wide-eyed, innocent look about him, but he also reminded me of the grandfather from Silent Night, Deadly Night, so I knew he was a little unstable.
He reminded me a little bit of Charles Manson.
Yeah.
Yep.
If
Mhm.
If Charles Manson never talked, that would what he would be right there.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're then introduced to Tommy, who is not only a boy genius, but also a boy Rambo. As we see, he sleeps in an old fighter plane, sitting, and there's a whole Jean-Claude Van Damme-esque working out and suiting up for war montage.
Yeah, this scene was really cool until the camera's like very close up and gliding over a little child's sweaty body. That took me out of the scene a little bit.
Yeah. I wasn't sure if Renee, the director, who I'm just going to call Renee, hey girl, if he was kind of making fun of like the manly montages, like trying to show that this kid wants to be a man and be a tough guy, but it was kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah. He's definitely, playing off the Rambo, but I don't think we needed that sexual scene of the sweaty kid and
Yeah.
Yeah.
him gliding up down his arms.
I was mostly trying to figure out what kind of room he was in, which we find out about, but I was like, what? I don't know. Like, how does a plane fit in his room?
The house they live in, his dad must have been Willy Wonka, because there's no explanation for why they would have anything in that house unless your dad's Willy Wonka, or who was the guy in Chicago that had the museum, the House of Death,
Oh,
the Hotel of
H.H.
Death.
Holmes?
H.H. Holmes. Those are the only two people.
And does he listen to war sounds as he falls asleep in the background?
Yeah, it reminds him of Vietnam. Just
So tough guy Tommy lives with his half-blind diabetic grandpa Poppy and top flow department store executive mother Julie. We quickly learn that Thomas's dad is out of the picture. I'm guessing he passed away. The mom is working late on Christmas Eve because she's a businesswoman and she's all about making that money. So Tommy and Poppy are left alone. For as smart as Tommy is, he still believes in Santa and writes down his Christmas list, even though he informs his mom that there's a new way to contact Santa via Minitel. Just so people know, Minitel was a video text online service in France accessible through telephone lines and was the world's most successful online service prior to the Wah 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 World Wide Web. From its early days, users could make online purchases, make train reservations, check stock prices, search the telephone directory, and chat in a similar way to what is now the internet. Did you guys know that the Minitel network did not retire the service until June 30th, 2012?
I didn't. Yeah, when I was reading up on Minitel, I saw that, and I think, oh, what did it say? That the person who had created it, like, uploaded all of the information to the cloud, so like you can still kind of use it, but I mean, like, it's all there.
you could download all the source code to
Yeah.
see how they made it, but at this day and age, you don't. It's so obsolete.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds like on Minitel, which I guess they had kiosks set up in like train stations and shit.
Yeah.
You could literally look up people's addresses. So,
Huh.
yeah.
Yeah, so how the inception of this movie came to be was Renee went to buy flowers for his mom using this Minitel and somehow ended into a sex chat room.
No.
And he was thinking, like, what if a kid got into this and got into the sex chat room and just started talking to all these people, talking sexiness to everyone else. So he was like, kind of like, oh, this is weird that I access it just trying to buy flowers, and now a kid talking to Santa could access a sex chat room, and then the idea blossomed from there.
That makes so much sense because Tommy wants to prove to his friend Pilou that Santa does exist. So he dials code Santa, and we find Tommy chatting with who he thinks is Santa, and his friend Pilou is like, he doesn't exist. These are just like crazy people. And then they even make a comment that maybe you ended up on a kinky website
Yeah.
and that you don't know who you're talking to. So that makes a lot of sense, Patrick.
Yeah. It was, there's not there's not a lot of ton of information on this movie.
Mhm.
That was pretty much the only thing I've ever found about production-wise, was how he wrote the script, was based off of that. Which I
Wow.
wish there was more. I would love to see more production notes on this movie.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about it so much, but the house, when they filmed the house, it looks so dream-like. Even in the morning when he wakes up, it's just like this dream-like house. Everything feels like a dream.
Mhm.
And it's so cool.
So in an interview on reneemansour.com, there's we'll include this link. There's extracts from the dossier produced by Elaine Schlockoff, L'Écran Fantastique from January 1990, and Renee comments about the house. So in this, it says the interiors of the castle were built in the studio in relation to camera movements. And Renee says, and this is translated using Google Translate from French to English, so this may not make any sense. He said, completely even compared to the choice of focal lengths, I even made trompe l'œil constructions from time to time to translate the child's subjective view. And he says, when you are a child, everything seems enormous to you. The first feeling you get when you go back to the house where you lived as a child is that you find yourself very small. The choice of focal lengths is very important for this. So he definitely, it sounds like Renee had his hand in every aspect of this film and really wanted to make it childlike and dreamlike.
I definitely think he achieved that.
Yes.
In the beginning of the movie, I love this, like, I don't know the name of the filter that he has on the lens, but it just, everything's clouded. It feels like a Lifetime movie flashback or a murder, or like Unsolved Mysteries flashback.
Or like the end of Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is just so great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Tommy is chatting with who he thinks is Santa Claus, but then we find out that it's actually the unstable friend.
Friend?
I know, I didn't mean to say.
He's no friend.
So so Tommy is chatting with who he thinks is Santa Claus, but it's actually the unstable dude from the beginning of the movie. And he pretends to be Le Père Noël and ultimately gets info from Tomas on how to find his address because he's like, oh, will you play with me? So he gets info from Tomas on how to find his address by finding his mom at her department store, where he ends up getting a last-minute job as Santa Claus. His mom is making everybody work and just like, we want the department store to be Christmas out of everyone's butthole. Everyone's working late. It's Christmas Eve. Hire everybody.
I thought she owned the store because there's a part of the movie where she's like, well, I'll just buy another one,
Yeah.
So I thought she owned the store and was just like buying up all these other stores, but she's just the executive head, I guess.
Also, I want to go to that store's party. She's like, yeah, we're gonna have fire eaters and like circus stuff going on. I'm like, dang, I want to
Yeah.
go there.
Fire Eater's a
Yeah.
big Christmas thing. Huge. Do it every year at my house.
So while Thomas is fixing his mom's old car and setting up a security camera system to capture Santa Claus and prove he's real, Creepy Claus is creeping out kids and ultimately gets fired by Julie, the top flow executive mom.
But why does he get fired? Because he punches a little girl in the face.
Man, again, this is like another moment where I was like, okay, I'm ready to like have some empathy for him because he was sitting there and Like that expression he was giving, like just enjoying seeing all these people enjoy Christmas. I was like, oh, that's really sweet. And then he starts petting the little girl's face and smacks her. I'm like, nope, I'm done. I can't get with that.
It's all fun and games until they start patting the face.
Nope.
Yeah. Renee commented that the Santa Claus character is the keystone of the film. We didn't want him to be Mr. Bad. He is a child in a grown-up's body. He just wants to play, and just like a kid, he has no limits. So I thought that Santa Claus was played wonderfully, and he definitely was super weird and creepy, and I feel like he did do things that like a kid would do.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
There's some very specific things, scenes that I have in mind that I can be like, oh, he literally is just trying to play with
Yeah,
Tommy, but
same.
He doesn't
Yeah.
know how to.
Yeah.
I used to go to school with this kid who just didn't know how to interact with people, and he would always try and try and try, but he would always go up and just say the most inappropriate thing because he didn't understand, and it reminded me so much of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Holly, you have 2 kids. Do they have limits?
Yes, they do. I am very glad to say they do.
Good.
I just found that after I watched the movie a few times, you have Tommy, who's like a kid who wants to be an adult, and then you have this Santa Claus guy who's an adult who just wants to be a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he specifically wants to be Rambo.
We'll return back to this discussion. So Santa Claus is fired. He was sent to the HR office, and he goes there and hears that Julie's son is getting a big present delivery from the department store. So he hides in the delivery van to get to Tommy's house.
Yeah, that was just a weird scene, I felt. I guess it was like one way to get him to the house, but I guess when your mom runs the biggest toy store in all of France, I guess she can just be like, it's Christmas Eve, don't go home to your family, go deliver toys to my family.
Well, yeah, I'm sure she's paying them very well, and
Yeah.
they probably have a lot of toys for their children if they have them too.
Yeah, they're probably union.
The mom was so interesting because even her new boyfriend, her coworker boyfriend, it was like, go home to your son. It's 10:30. Don't sit here and do accounting like you're a fucking mom. Go home. And she's just like, no, I want to be here till 12:30. It's Christmas Eve. I have no problem being away from my son, but I'm going to make sure he still believes in Santa Claus because, he's questioning things, and he needs a truckload of presents that all y'all are going to deliver the night before.
I love the way Renee films the mom in the movie. That he always puts like this angelic glow around her.
Yes.
Which I just love. Once again, it just reminds me of like Unsolved Mysteries or something like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
I was just completely enjoying the relationship that all 3 of them had. Like, even though, she wanted
Yeah.
to spend that time at work, I feel like because it's just her, and I don't know. I was also guessing that the father had died as well. She's compensating with the presents and has that sense that she needs to be there. But even though she has that work life and they're extremely well off, it seems like it doesn't affect their familial relationship. Like, they're all so super
Yeah.
close, and I really enjoyed watching them, and it made the stakes later in the movie way higher.
I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, the breakfast scene when they're all, Tommy comes in and handcuffs his grandfather, and they both share their quote unquote medicine together. His mom is like, you can't have a croissant until you drink your medicine. And so they like drink their medicine. And it was really cute because that's the first time we see Tommy actually act like a kid.
Yeah.
After his whole like Rambo, sweaty, working out, sharpening his toy knife scene, we see him being like, Mommy, can I have a croissant? It was really interesting. Like, I never was like, I know I was like, come on, go the boyfriend was like, go spend Christmas with your kid. But I never felt like the mom was putting work before the kid.
Right.
Yeah.
And like you said, they did have a really good familial relationship.
Yeah.
So Tommy and Poppy are playing D&D and have a conversation about whether to believe in things based on physical evidence or because it's written down in history.
This was a cool scene. I thought it was like a good way to kind of show the relationship with the grandfather a little more. Because a lot of times the grandfather is just like, I'm an old man, you know? So this was like a nice heart-to-heart kind of talk between them.
Yeah, it really shows how deep their relationship is
Yeah.
with each other. Like he says, you know, we've been playing for 2 years. They're still on level 1. And, you know, obviously the grandfather doesn't know what he's doing, but
He's
wants
trying.
to, yeah, he wants to play with his grandson.
Yeah, it was really cute that they're playing a fantasy game and it's very childlike, dreamlike, and again showing how Tommy wants to be a tough guy, but he's still a kid in like a fantasy land.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm 28 years old and I believe in aliens and Bigfoot, so.
I love how Tommy was like, of course I believe in
Yeah.
aliens, der.
Yeah.
It's 1990, Grandpa. Come on.
So Tommy is like super pumped to try and capture Santa Claus, and he's hiding under the table, super excited, watching the chimney, checking on his armband monitor with his security system. His mom calls him and tells him to go to bed because, quote, you shouldn't try to see Santa Claus because he'll get mad and turn into an ogre. Foreshadow.
Dun, dun, dun.
So, Creepy Claus.
That's exactly what I've been calling him. That's all up in my
Yeah.
notes. Creepy Claus.
So, Creepy Claus, the unstable guy who weaseled his way into the delivery truck. I will say, going back to that scene, that was like a classic slasher horror scene where you have someone loading a truck full of presents and you see Creepy Claus in the background stalking.
Yeah.
And he has the Jason Voorhees stance.
Yeah.
Some people just don't like, they're like, well, this isn't a horror movie. It's more of like a thriller, but this movie definitely has horror elements for sure.
Absolutely.
I mean, thriller and a horror movie both have the same effect on how you perceive them, right? You're gonna get anxiety, you're gonna get stressed, like, so they're
Yeah.
kind of, they're, I wouldn't say the same, but they're in the same realm.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, they're like half siblings.
Yeah.
Demonic siblings. So Creepy Claus is at the mansion / castle, and he kills the caretakers because they deliver the presents to the caretakers' home. Picks up a bottle of snow spray and starts spraying on his hair and his beard to make him look like Santa Claus. This scene I thought was like super well done because you see that this guy is legit crazy, and it's as if he's playing dress up. I mean, he is playing dress up, but he's like, again, so childlike with his manners, with his mannerisms, that you really are like, this guy's super loco.
Yeah, he's like spraying on his hair and he's like, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha, ha ha. It's just like something a kid would do, rubbing like
Yeah.
peanut butter on
Yeah.
their face, like, haha, this is so funny.
Or just like, yeah, getting ready for Halloween. Like, oh my God, it's coming together.
Yep.
Yes, right? So Thomas ends up falling asleep under the table, only to be awakened when Santa comes down the chimney. And it's this really cute la 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 holiday scene. And he can't believe that Santa's here. But then all of a sudden,
I almost turned off the movie at this point.
Me too.
this magical scene soon turns to horror when Tommy's trusty pup, JR, attacks Santa. And then Creepy Claus kills him with a serving knife.
I almost turned the movie off.
JR was such a good boy. He did not deserve
Ugh.
that.
I hate when they kill dogs. Kill as many people as you want, but the dog, don't touch him, or the cat.
But, okay, aside from poor kill the cat. Aside from poor little JR, I loved when he was coming down the chimney and Tomas looks just so excited, and it's like that angelic light is coming with him.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I noticed that the like on the hearth of the fireplace were a pair of boots, and I don't know if I understood this properly, but I was thinking maybe the father had died in some kind of war, because later on there's like dog tags, and I was assuming they were the dad's, and those look like combat boots that were up there, which mimic they look like Santa boots.
Oh.
So that was that's what started connecting my brain to the parallels of like people going off to war. And I'm not very good at history. I'm as bad as I am at math. I'm worse at history. But I was looking up some stuff, and France did have involvement with Vietnam like in the 40s and 50s, like prior to America going into the Vietnam War.
That's why we went there, was because of the French.
I did not know that because I don't pay attention to history
Yeah.
much. But then I was just thinking about what I know of people going to war in Vietnam. Like there were the people who, you know, absolutely did not want to go, people who thought it was their duty, and then there were people who were gung-ho, like they're gonna go. When those people, you know, if they came back home, they're traumatized. And here you have this little kid who is so ready to, what I'm assuming, like emulate his father and,
Yeah.
you know, like try and be this man. And then he gets what he wants and he has to go to war in a sense. And he's completely traumatized.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, when Tommy sees Santa kill his dog, it's like his whole world comes crashing down.
Yeah.
Like, why would Santa kill his dog? You know, how could Santa be a killer and not the joyful gift giving saint?
Yeah.
You don't have to kill JR, though.
No.
Oh, I know. And of course, like, JR knew that he wasn't Santa. He was like a creepy, unstable psycho.
He's such a good boy.
If you have a problem with in movies where the dog dies, I think he dies around the 35-minute mark. Just skip that part. Listen to what we just talked about. You'll understand it. Just skip it, and you won't have to witness it.
Yeah, because I definitely teared up.
There's another scene that's kind of hard to watch
Oh,
if you
yes.
can't handle
Yeah.
dog death.
Oof.
I don't. They did not need that scene.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Oh, God. They really, like, rubbed it in, too.
Yeah.
So Tommy gets Poppy, and
Hey,
they try to flee
Poppy.
the mansion.
Sorry.
Hey, Poppy!
Hey! All right.
So they try to flee the mansion in the mom's car, but it's stalled, so they are stuck and they must defend themselves. Tommy's first instinct is to flight, get help, and try to get access to a phone. So one thing that everybody talks about in this movie is that it's the original Home Alone. Very similar premise of little boy is alone at his home and there are people breaking in and he's got to set up booby traps to defend his home. Now, Renee Manzor tried to actually sue Fox. Yeah, he approached the studio Fox in an attempt to reach a settlement agreement, but Fox denied any similarity between the films. John Hughes, who wrote the film, has said he came up with the idea for Home Alone in August 1989 while en route to Paris for a family vacation and denied ever seeing Mr. Manzor's film.
Yeah, because it didn't release until January of 1990. You would have had to been in the festival in March to see the film. I think, yes, there are similarities to Home Alone. I've read so many reviews to this movie, and that's the only thing anyone can fucking focus on is that this movie is just like Home Alone, and it is not. Home Alone in this movie, sure, there's a premise where a kid's alone, but they're so different. Everything about the movie is different. like, this movie is about child losing innocence, right? Home Alone is a family feel-good movie about him just wanting to be back with his family on Christmas. Like, the ideas of the movie are so different, and I did not bother me until I started reading reviews about how that's the only thing people can focus on about these two movies. Not that this movie was good. It's either this movie's better than this one. No, this one's better than that one. Why can't they just be both good movies? They're so different.
I tried to look up reviews, and yeah, same. It was all it's the original Home Alone. It's like, no, I want to like hear what other people think about this. But after I was reading that, I was like, if you just look at them at a very surface level,
Mhm.
it's actually comical to compare the two, because this one is like it has such a serious theme to it, and then you get Home Alone, which is beyond comedic. It's,
Yeah.
if you just surface level compare them, it's like, of course, like America would like water it down, and it's like almost this puritanical version of this movie. But I mean, I agree. It's just they're similar kind of story, but they're just too different to really say, it's the same.
Yeah, it's.
Yeah.
I think it just bothered me so much because it's literally the only thing you will focus on in your review about the movie is it's the original Home Alone. It's better than Home Alone. Fuck Home Alone. I hate Home Alone. Or it's did not take anything. Home Alone's a superior movie. It's
Yeah.
you're literally comparing apples and oranges.
Yeah.
That's literally what you're doing. Yeah, they're both fruit. Okay. It's
Yeah.
so frustrating.
At least in Deadly Games, he uses his walkie-talkie as one of his booby traps. I mean, Kevin McAllister didn't whip out the talk boy until Home Alone 2, Lost in New York.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to just say one last thing on this, and then I'm not going to talk about it anymore. If you're a listener and you truly think these movies are so similar, go reevaluate your life and go watch these movies again side by side because they're so fucking different.
Oh, wait, but before we move on, I just want to say I loved the scene when they were in the car and Creepy Claus was attacking them. It was so tense. Like the music,
Yeah.
the camera angles, there was slow motion. Like you could really see the fear in their faces. I was like, oh my goodness, like this movie is like something.
That scene where he's like showing the fear, I loved that because Tommy is pretending to be this badass and then he is scared
Yes.
shitless in every scene. He's like, I'm terrified.
There are so many times in the movie where it's emphasized that he is a little kid.
Yeah. I mean, in that car scene, Creepy Claus literally slams his head into the front windshield.
Yeah.
Like, if anybody does that, I am like, you have no limits. This is like, you need to die. Like, this is scary.
Yeah, it's you or me.
You're radiating
Yeah.
a power that I don't understand. It is fair.
You're an animal at this point.
Yeah.
I do love that scene though. So they get out of the car and they run into the garage
Right.
or the
Yeah,
laundry
so they get out of
room.
the car, run through his secret hideout, which is like the size of 3 of my apartments,
Yeah,
filled with toys, like, and an airplane,
Yeah.
apparently.
a full size World War II Spitfire airplane.
Ooh, seeing that room, like, with all the toys in it, like, full scale, I was getting some major Peter Pan vibes from it.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, Holly, yes.
And then I think it's, like, very shortly after, there's a shot, and there is, like, some kind of figurine. It looks like a Peter Pan type figure fighting a Santa Claus, like, with this really, like, an ogre-ish face, it looks like.
Yep.
Mhm.
And that was another thing where it was just like another emphasis on this kid who is like, all he does all day is imagine and play, and he has this magical place that he lives, and he has this secret room, and he Peter Pan is all about maintaining your youth and your innocence, and he's forced to fight something like this figure who is a symbol of innocence.
Yep.
Well, Holly, did you know this was actually the original Peter Pan? This was the original Peter Pan. So,
Yes.
got him. Got him.
All that stuff, like J.M. Barrie, all those silent movies, like, nope. This is where it started.
This is the origin of all movies.
Suck it, Disney.
But no, I agree that that Santa statue though, I would love to have in my house for Christmas.
That was really
Oh.
cool.
It would be on my mantle staring at me right now.
It was like a weird wood carving voodoo alien doll with like a cute Santa outfit on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So me when I go out on Christmas Eve.
So Tommy realizes he's got to fight. So he's got to become a man, as sung by Bonnie Tyler in this whole montage.
Here comes the darkness. Time to be sad. Here comes the rain. Please don't leave them hopeless. They'll become a man. They'll become a man.
And he puts on his Rambo gear and he tries to sneak to his mom's office, which has the last like functioning phone. And he winds up in like a maze in the basement. Like, what?
A maze in the basement where the carpet is a picture of his face. I was like, well, they must have filmed this in like a hotel or something. This carpet's crazy. And then it zooms out. I'm like, oh, it's his face.
Yeah.
Okay. The mom really loves her son. But also, who the fuck designs a maze to get to your office?
Also, I was like, Tommy, you literally have a speech to Creepy Claus being like, this is my house. You don't fucking know where you're going. I know where I'm going. How do you not know where your mom's office is? That's like the one thing that a kid definitely knows how to get to is the parent's office.
For sure.
Because it's like super off limits. So it's like, that's the one place I'm going to figure out how to get to.
He was scared. He was nervous.
that floor is very disorienting.
Yeah, and he just realized he has to be a man now, so
He's going through a lot.
he's worried
Yeah.
about Pappy in the flight room with the plane
And
and the
like
bridge.
Neverland.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Okay.
How come Tommy is barefoot this whole time? I mean, did this inspire Die Hard?
What came first? Is this the original Die Hard? Is this the Nakatomi Tower?
Tommy is literally walking along the outside in a sleeveless vest, barefoot,
In the snow.
and he doesn't get frostbite like on his feet. He's crawling on the outside of the house.
Die Hard came out in '88, so I think this is like I think it was inspired by Die Hard.
Okay. I mean, because he like puts on his boots in the morning and, you know, he puts on all his Rambo gear, but minus the boots.
Maybe,
Like, I was like,
maybe because they would be too clumpy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm trying to help him out.
I'm gonna go with the clumpy.
I
'Cause
mean, I know when I walk through my house in my combat boots,
Yeah.
I make some noise.
Same, because each
Yeah,
boot weighs 2 pounds.
Yeah.
I mean, he was so agile and quick in like the morning when he was swinging around town and fighting JR.
Don't bring up JR.
I know.
It's
Rest
too
in
hard.
peace, sorry.
We love you, JR.
Oh, yeah. But here in this, scene where he's Mr. Tough Guy he's outside calling for his mommy. Again, he's like, I'm a kid. I want my mommy. I can't do this.
That hurt my heart so much.
I love it though because you think he's gonna get into a position where he's like, I'm gonna do this, and then he's like, I can't do this. I'm a kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we mentioned before how Renee had used like lenses and stuff to emphasize how big everything is. Like when he's on that ledge and it just pans over the house, the castle, really. You're just like, oh my God, he's so small and he's calling for his mom, and it's so sad.
Yeah. No matter what tricks Tommy uses to stop Creepy Claus, he keeps coming back a la Jason Voorhees. Like, shoot him with darts in the neck. Doesn't faze him. Lock him up in a sauna. He breaks through the sauna. Light him on fire? What?
Use a trap door? Why didn't he just close the trap door afterwards?
Yeah. You know, the trap door happened before he caught him on fire and before he, like, sets up all these booby traps. After his, like, screaming mommy on the rooftop, he goes through this whole, like, become a man montage where, again, where he's carrying puppy JR with his little tongue, like, drooping out. And this poor kid carries his dog, buries his dog, all the while, like, thinking about his dog being super cute and, like, giving him kisses as he's trying to do push-ups. Again, with the song Bonnie Tyler singing, like, to become a man, like, why does he have to cry to become a man? You know, why do you have to transition, you know, to have to be so tough, you know, to become a man?
Because of society, social norms.
If you don't become a man and deal with the bullshit of like living a life, you're gonna turn into Creepy Claus,
Yeah.
and kill people.
That whole scene with burying JR, I didn't need it. I didn't need it.
Yeah. Nope.
That was rubbing it in.
I mean, it reminds me of like what I was saying before in war. Like you see people that you love
Yes.
die, and you sometimes have to bury people that you love in those moments, and it's so heartbreaking to see a kid so little have to do that.
Yeah.
Was it during the scene where Santa Claus then figures out how to get into a secret hideout when he's burying JR?
I think so, because he hears the grandfather get up and go and like crash on some toys,
Yeah.
and then he's like walking by the fridge, and then he goes in, and the grandpa's like gets on the walkie-talkie,
Yeah.
and he's like, I gotta get my grandpa out, and then that's when he hides the grandfather in a body armor.
How the fuck did he get in that body armor?
I mean, this is like medieval times knight putting on armor, and it's being held up by a carabiner.
The grandpa is blind as fuck. The armor has probably over 100 pieces to disassemble and put back on. But yeah, he somehow takes it apart, gets in it, it just hangs out.
It's like Scooby-Doo armor. It's just
Yeah.
like two pieces. It's just pants and a shirt and a helmet.
This actually influenced Scooby-Doo. I'm gonna stop making that joke. I'm gonna stop it.
Another scene at this time was the whole train grenade. So he sets up this whole train grenade where he sets like a lighter to like, he's taped it to the front of this toy train, and it's got the wick extension, and then he like puts in gunpowder from like a dynamite stick into a toy grenade, pops in some marbles, a cloth device, some cloth, and then extends the wick to this lighter, and then sets the train and puts it towards Creepy Claus. Creepy Claus is entertained by this train and is like enthralled and doesn't even see the grenade until he picks up the train, winds it up, and sends it back to Tommy. And Tommy's like, oh shit, it's gonna go to Grandpa.
Which is in a suit of armor, so he would have been fine.
Yeah. Tommy runs over. Creepy Claus sees Tommy. He runs over. They're both there. And all Tommy does is, as the train hits the pedestal where Grandpa's standing, somehow that just happens to light the lighter, which then, ignites the wick, and you see it go into the grenade, and Tommy's just going to close his eyes. And then nothing happens. Literally, Creepy Claus sees the grenade, picks it up, laughs, and then it's cutscene. It's like end scene. That's it.
Didn't it like smoke a little bit?
Little bit.
Yeah, it was smoking.
It
was smoking.
It did light a little bit.
Yeah.
When he
Yeah, it did light and it burned the cloth, but Like what? What? That I was like, that's it?
Yeah. When he taped that lighter to the train, I knew it wasn't going to work.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not quite sure what he expected to happen because I wasn't sure how that was going to work.
In theory, it looked great, but he should have just lit it, and that train would have just slowly
Yeah.
gone over to him.
Yeah, because the execution is exactly what would have happened if I did this. Oh, this is going to be amazing. Nope, didn't work at all.
This is one thing I didn't like about the movie where all the booby traps failed and I thought they were going to be cool, but execution wise, it fell flat.
Whoa. That kid programmed a whole computer system of cameras
Okay,
and a wristwatch.
I'm not talking about the kid. No, that whole yeah. Like
That's where his talent lies.
like I was waiting for some Kevin McAllister booby traps that worked flawlessly.
But see,
you know, but this one
it
like,
came out before Home Alone, so he couldn't watch Home Alone to get inspired by it.
Kevin McAllister learned from him.
Yeah.
he was like, okay, this is what I should not do.
Yeah.
So how do someone light on fire and with gasoline poured on them, you know, in a puddle of gasoline and not catch on fire and die?
Well, you have to be Santa Claus.
Obviously.
Yeah.
He knows of stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah. I mean, he was in a pure cotton suit, which probably would absorb some of the gasoline, and he would have just probably burst into flames, but it could have been polyester. I don't know.
I did like that though, like the way he set that trap up, and then he had his like the little cap that he had a little bit of gasoline in, and he stuck the little suction cup arrow. I was like, I like that. It was
Yeah.
I don't want to say it was cute, but like for being
was
little like
cute.
toys, it was cute.
So while this whole cat and mouse game is going on and, you know, Tommy's unsuccessful booby traps, he does manage to get a few faxes out to his friends, Paloo and the department store, but help is unsuccessfully on the way. The mom is trying to call the house with no success and speeds back to the mansion only to crash into a snowbank.
How? What happened?
You can't text and drive.
There was just I don't know. It was like she was just driving, and all of a sudden there was a scene of her going like, "Oh my goodness!" and she just crashed. And I was like, "What? What caused it?" I couldn't tell.
I don't know. It was literally just like, la 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 la.
Yeah,
It's like she turned the wheel herself.
I was like, was there a deer? Did something startle you? I'm not sure what happened. I went back and I watched it a bunch of times. I was like, I cannot tell what caused her to crash.
I think there was like an invincible deer. I don't know.
Okay.
Invisible deer, I mean.
Maybe she went to hit the brakes and just hit the gas. It's a common mistake.
But Paloo gets the fax and gets on his. I mean, he can bike in snow way better than the mom can drive in snow.
Wait,
Yup.
and first off, they live in a mansion in the middle of nowhere. Where's Paloo coming from? Is he coming from?
Yeah.
Did he get on a train, get off the train station, then move his bike, and then ride over the 3 miles to the mansion? Because
It's the next door mansion.
Oh,
It's so their mansion isn't quite in the middle of nowhere because I thought the same thing. I think the mansion is far away from the caretaker's quarters because it looks like they're right by the gate, which is right by a busy road. Because Paloo bikes over, opens the door right as Santa Claus is like, right as he slashes Tommy's leg, and Tommy's like, "Get away, scram!" And then Paloo bikes away. So Creepy Claus runs after Paloo. Paloo is on his bike, on his Huffy 10-speed, biking through woods, and manages to get away from Creepy Claus because he crosses a road right as a car drives by and disappears. I mean, he also slips a little bit on his bike, but he still manages to get it back on it and bike away.
Paloo crossed the street, rolled down that hill, and was never seen again. They don't talk about it in the movie.
It's like Mulholland Drive.
Yeah, it's just like the mom. Ran to a snowbank, but he's not in a car. It's not safe.
I love that during that scene where he's being chased by creepy claws, his jacket says no.
That was a dope
He's got
jacket,
that
though.
cool 80s jacket. So I really felt in this movie that Santa Claus was adulthood and Palou was the friend that didn't believe in Santa Claus, and his, Tommy's mom was like, well, yeah, Santa Claus doesn't visit him because he's a bad kid and his parents have to buy him gifts. And Palou is literally biking
Damn.
away from Santa Claus, aka adulthood, and he's like, no, I don't want to grow up. I want to be young and immature.
Damn, the mom is just
Yeah.
shitting on Palou. He's a
Oh,
bad
yeah.
kid. You don't want to hang out with him.
Another unsuccessful help is a cop actually shows up and he gets killed by Santa Claus.
Cops in movies are so useless. Unless you're John McCain.
Oh. Yeah, and of course, I knew that cop was gonna get murdered by creepy Claus. And a side note, I'm so sorry to our listeners. We keep changing names between Santa Claus and Creepy Claus, Tomas and Tommy, but I'm sure y'all can keep up.
Yeah. Because Santa Claus in general is creepy because a fat man coming into your room at night eating cookies while he watches you sleep and leaves a present is scary.
That is scary, yeah.
He's just like, yeah, you sleeping? And you're just like, don't come any closer, Santa.
Side note, I saw a really funny cartoon the other day. It was, don't worry, if you don't have a chimney, Santa can deflate himself and slide under your door to get inside.
Oh, so now I have to be worried about a deflated Santa Claus under my bed going, oh, I hope you're sleeping. I hope you're sleeping now. And you're just like, oh, God. That's terrifying.
You're welcome.
So Santa Claus finally catches Tomas, and turn of events, he has the serving knife up to his neck, and he says it's his turn to find him because Creepy Claus thinks they've been playing hide and seek this whole time. And Creepy Claus is like, makes him count to 20 and tells him not to cheat. Poor Tommy is like confused as fuck. So after counting a few seconds, he gets into the cop car and is like, I'm out of here. Radios for help. But surprise, Creepy Claus hid in the back seat of the cop car. They crash because that's how people drive in France. And Tommy handcuffs Santa in a car with his fake toy cuffs. So naturally, Santa just yanks on it and escapes and chases Tommy into the woods, where Tommy trips over the dead cop, grabs his gun, and is having this shocking, terrifying moment of like, why, Santa? Why are you doing this? I mean, Tommy the whole time thinks that Santa is real. And this whole time, he thinks that Santa has turned on him because he wanted to see him.
Yep.
Just like his mom said, hey, if you see him, he's going to get mad and turn into an ogre. So Tommy is like, I am responsible for all of this. I brought this on. Why are you doing this?
That was so sad. Like,
Yeah.
after having children, you just view movies with children differently. And like seeing him look at the face of something so magical, something that he believes in, and just like cry and just ask him like, why are you hurting us? Like, he's he's supposed to be 10. Yeah.
Yeah, he's
but,
10.
But when he cries, it's like you see that little helpless child, and I can't help but see my own children, and like they're little now, and when they get like really upset, it's like they're, like those little babies they just want to protect, and it's like it's so sad.
I thought it was a good idea to put him at that age of like 10, between like 10 and 12. You're at that age where it's like, puberty's kind of coming on the onset, so you are looking a little older, but you're still such a child, but you're still trying to
Yeah.
pretend to be not, So I really
Yeah.
like that idea of him being that age.
Oh God.
When did you guys stop believing in Santa, and how?
Ooh.
Well, I have two older siblings, and my sister is like an investigator. So she always found the presents where my parents hid them. So she pretty much ruined it for me.
Oh. I think I was like I think I was about 8, and my mom forgot to give me something when my tooth fell out. And then that it clicked. I'm like, oh, all of these things, like where I've been getting these secret presents, they're all my parents.
Yeah, I was 19, and my mom finally told me that he wasn't real. No, I was 10 years old, and I remember my mom was just like, "What do you want for Christmas?" Blah blah blah. And she was just like, "You still believe in Santa?" And I was like, "Try to be a cool kid." I was like, "No." And she's like, "All right, well, I couldn't find this gift, so I'm gonna get you this." I was like, "Oh, oh,
Oh no.
oh, he's not real."
I mean, yes. No, one of my favorite quotes in this movie was in the beginning when the mom, she was telling all the people in the department store, like, oh, we need to do all this, we're gonna have like this big thing, and they were like, well, this would have been easier if you told us last month. And they're like, this is the day before, why didn't we figure this out a while ago? And she was like, because last month kids still believed in Santa Claus.
Yep.
I was like, oh god, that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, Tommy learned the traumatizing way by having to ultimately shoot Santa, and then makes his way to Poppy, gives him his insulin, and turns around to see that Santa is still there, like looking like the creature from the Black Lagoon. He's got mud, he's got a burnt face, he's barely moving.
The mud on them reminded me of Predator.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Poppy ends up waking up and shooting Santa dead. Poor Tommy is clearly in shock, recounting everything that's happened that night. His mom shows up and, being the mom that she is holding him, and he wakes up admitting that it's all his fault because he wanted to see Santa Claus.
I love this scene because he never takes his eyes off of Santa.
Yeah.
And it's so just like, he's just like, what have I done? I've
Yeah,
literally
it's
destroyed
just-
Christmas for all
it
these
is-
kids.
Complete shock and trauma. Yeah. And guilt. And
The kid who plays Tomas, so good.
he is
So good.
Yeah. He was the director's son?
Yep, the director's son. And he eventually, I think he did like 2 other things, but he went into special effects.
Yeah.
Nice.
He works for some pretty big special effects companies as a producer.
Yeah, he did special effects for like Avatar.
Yeah. He worked for Sin something and Skyline.
I mean, a kid to act trauma like that. I mean, I love horror movies where at the end they're like, "This was traumatic as fuck, and we're gonna show it."
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Not just like people like breathing calmly next to each other, watching as they whisk the serial killer away. It's like people who are like, "No, I'm fucking traumatized. What the fuck just happened?"
Yeah.
And then I just love how they end it right there. There's no happy
Yeah.
Christmas resolution. You know, it doesn't show that
Mhm.
the next year Tommy's like not scared of Santa. It's like Tommy's about to go to therapy for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I guess you want to go into final thoughts of the movie?
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what I know we've been sharing thoughts, but was this movie all about growing up? Is Santa Claus adulthood, you know? Does the beginning text relate to Tommy or Creepy Claus?
I think the beginning text relates to both.
Yeah.
And I think like when you become an adult, obviously you lose some of that imagination and that childlike wonder because the world is so hard and you have bills, and you have more bills, and you have more bills, and that just destroys your soul. But I do think adults can still have childlike wonder, and I still think they can be imaginative. I think if you lose that, that's when like you've kind of failed as a person, right? Because you just become part of the machine. That is the worst way to put it, but you just become this mindless, I have to be an adult, I can't play, I can't do this. Like, yeah, let your hair down, you know?
Yeah,
Go have
like
some fun.
I've said it before, like that's a reason why doing Rocky Horror is so important to both me and Alan. I mean, Alan doesn't perform, but he's there in that atmosphere, and it's that chance that we get to not have to be parents. Like, we don't have
Yeah.
to worry about being responsible adults. We're the ones who get to have fun for a little bit. And that's super important.
Yeah. In this interview on ReneeManzor.com, Renee talks about his childhood, and he says, "I knew it was what I was going through, that it wouldn't last, and I wanted it to last as long as possible. When the pivotal moment occurred, I experienced things exactly this way. I was the cocoon child of someone who was a stranger to me and who had fed on me and who was the adult I was going to become and who ate me a little more every day. A duel to the death between me and me. It is this duel that I tell in 3615, so inevitably it takes a fantastic consonance. The film can be seen in the first degree as a scouring thriller, but in fact, behind it, there are much stronger ideas than mere distraction."
You know, it's funny that he puts the line, a duel to the death between me and me, because he's
Mhm.
literally interviewing himself on ReneeManzar.com. So it's just a little nod to that. But this is a fantastic line, because it
Yes.
really,
Yeah.
really shows, like, that's probably one of the best things I've heard about becoming adult, and like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you sacrifice your dreams and your imagination because something more important comes up. This little thing every day. It's like, well, I'm
Yep.
not gonna do this one thing I did as a child because now I gotta go to work. I gotta go do
Yeah.
this. I'm tired. I don't want
Yep.
to take the time out to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember watching this random HBO show, and it's kids on kids being kids, and they're interviewing kids, and they're like, "What are your thoughts on becoming an adult?" And this one kid was like, "I can't wait. You know, I can go to the zoo whenever I want. I can like go eat candy." Actually, yeah, she's totally right. Like, I could go to the zoo tomorrow if I wanted to. You know, I could do all these things.
Yeah, and then
But-
you're like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't wait to go to the zoo. And then you get to the zoo and you're like, why are these animals fucking locked up?
I know, like the whole, like the thing is, like, you know, when I was a kid, I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to grow up. It's going to be so awesome. But then when you become an adult, you're like, fuck this. It's not awesome. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, all the magic and whimsy and wonder that I saw things, now that I see them with like adult eyes, I'm like, oh, this is terrifying and sad.
You know what's one thing I never did until I got a little older was I'd be like, okay, I really want to go do this, but it's a 30-minute drive, so it's gonna really take me 45 minutes to get in the car, to get there, park it out. Is it worth it? You know, and then I gotta spend $30 to do it, and no, I'll just wait for another day. And it's that little thing. It's me dueling me, and the child and me lost on that. And it's,
Yeah.
Yes.
it's so
Absolutely.
so I've been trying to get better at that, because like realistically, 30-minute drive, I can lay in bed for 30 minutes on my phone and waste time. I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, right?
I guess.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Should we rate this movie? I know as we're all having internal conversations with our inner childs.
Yeah. Well, I'm more just scared that a deflated Santa's under my bed now. Just like, imagine him like sliding up through the wall, still deflated, and just like, hey, this is scary. So yeah, I guess we can rate this.
Do you want to rate it on serving knives, fake knives, train grenades?
Let's do fake knives, since that's a little nod to JR, who's, you know, he got the fake knife tied to his little marker.
Yes. So out of 5 fake knives, Holly.
I'm gonna give this 4.5 out of 5. Steph, when you first told us about this movie and you sent the trailer, like I don't really watch trailers, so I kind of like, you know, sped through it a little bit. But, you know, I was expecting like a campy 80s movie with like a just a kid and just being silly, a little more on the silly side, a little campy, but I was so wrong. And this is so much deeper than I had expected it to be. And it was tense in a lot of places. Like I felt real concern for like every character in this. It had me on the edge of my seat for some scenes, and I was completely engaged. And I think that the director did an amazing job emphasizing how big the world seems to a little kid, and how when you're little, the things that you do when you're playing seem so real, and you just get so caught up in it. And like watching it, I remembered my own time as a kid, like playing and just getting lost in whatever I was doing and creating these worlds around me. And then yeah, the themes of like the loss of innocence and growing up. This is a great movie, and I'm definitely going to add it to my yearly watch.
Before we started watching this, I've given this movie a 3. After talking about it, though, I'm going to give it a 4. It is a pretty deep movie, and, the idea of, like, losing your childhood is really sad. And, you said you're going to put this on your list to watch every year, but I personally think I could maybe watch it every other year because it's a really depressing movie. It's going to make you feel like, what happened to my wonder as a child? Where did it go? And that's really sad. I mean, it's sad what Thomas went through, with Santa, but me, on the other hand, there's a lot of things I don't like about this film. Some of the music choice I just thought was not that great, and I thought some of the scenes were a little too long, a little repetitive. But the message of the movie comes through loud and clear. And I guess that's what it's mainly about. And he did a good job of making you feel like a child and then ripping it out of your hands, which is, I guess, what he was going for. So I'm going to give it 4.
I'm going to give this a 4 out of 5. At first glance, you think it's going to be some funny, ridiculous French Rambo version of Home Alone. And then after watching it 2 times, after watching it 2 times, I was like, whoa, this is hitting deep right now.
Yeah.
The first time I watched it, I was busy reading subtitles and trying to figure out what's happening. But then, you watch it again and you're like, okay, I don't have to watch the subtitles as much because I know what's going on. But the third time I watched it, I was like, wow, now I really see all the sentiment in this movie. And I started to see the perspective from a kid's point of view and how childlike it is, but also really smart and well done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I could watch it every year because it really does make you have a conversation with yourself and get into that me versus me duel.
Yeah. You can watch Home Alone every year because it doesn't do that. But I'm just going to throw it throwing that out there.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you have a happy, warm-filled Hallmark movie holiday.
With some
if
blood.
not, it's okay. We will be back with season 3, part 3 next year. We're going to work on our process and get you a better version, And the third one, they always come back stronger with more kills. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yep.
Yeah, we're gonna be a new and approved, still the same us though, because our childhood dreams have been ripped from us. So we're gonna fill that void with this, and try to get some more content to everyone.
Yeah. If you've been listening to us, thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Give us some feedback. Tell us what you like. Tell us what you don't like. Tell us
Yeah.
what you want more of. Tell us what you want less of.
Give us movie ideas.
Even if it's just like, Stephanie, just shut up and let Patrick and Holly talk. I'll be like, thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yeah, just let us know. Feedback is always good.
Yeah, that makes it better for you.
But please like and subscribe. Season 3 will be out next year.
Happy holidays.
And Happy New Year.
I'm going as Baby New Year's this year.
Thomas, c'est fini. Thomas, c'est fini. Maman, c'est ma faute, maman. J'ai voulu voir le Père Noël.